Welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to talk about the 1906 William Gilbert Clock Company Garcia. This is an old clock that I got from my family. It was in my grandparents' house for many years, and before that it was in my father's grandparents' house. And so it's been in our family a long time. That's really not what's important here. What's important here is that it is an old clock that you can easily get working again. It was one of the inspirations for Puzzle Box 5. If you had seen the Puzzle Box 5 video, you know that I had talked about that and my interest in clocks. This obviously looks so much different from this. This is a Mantle clock, and this is, I don't know, a different clock. But this was definitely something I grew up with, and it was an inspiration for the other. But we're going to talk about this one today. The Gilbert Clock Company out of Winston, Connecticut made a lot of different clocks, a lot of Mantle clocks. And so if you Google this kind of clock, you will see a lot of other clocks that look similar. They might have different decorations around it. They may not have these side pieces. They don't have the feet. It's all very different. But they did make several clocks. I am not a clock specialist. And there are a lot of YouTube channels out there that are, so if you are more interested in knowing more about those, go ahead and check some of those out. I will do a very brief how to tune this up and get it going, just what I did based on some of the videos that I've watched. It does feature some nice decorations throughout, some columns on the front. I did a very brief cleaning of this yesterday. It had been in a box in a closet, in a basement for years, at least 20 years possibly. And so I had a little, I wouldn't say active mold, but it had some of those little spots that you get on things. And so I cleaned those off just using a little bit of bottled water. Normally in conservation I would use some mineral spirits or something like that. You definitely don't want to use alcohol or any version of rubbing alcohol, because this was varnished and that will just take it off. And I am not into stripping stuff off. So you don't want to use anything, any solvents like that. Acetone, lacquer thinner, don't get that anywhere near here. But just a little light water, or mineral spirit. Mineral spirits is really what you want to use, but I just didn't have any in the shop. So I used a light application of water and some cotton skewers, and that was it. So going over how this gets tuned up, first of all, you're going to know that there's a pendulum inside. Now the back of other clocks might be different. I've seen backs that don't even have this panel on here. And so this panel may have been added later, I'm not sure. But this piece here just flips up. There's a nail that holds it in place. So that pulls up. So inside we have the pendulum's rod. Now, when I got this, when I looked at it yesterday, the pendulum and the rod were pushed behind the gong. And that's not really where you would want to find it. In fact, when I first looked in there, I was like, well, this doesn't even have one. But someone had pushed it back. It would have been better if the pendulum had just been simply removed and put in the envelope with the key. Because I think otherwise there's a slight bend in the shaft, and I'm not sure that that was there originally. So there may have been some damage in shoving it back there. So don't do that. I don't know who did it, but it's not good. You can see right here there's a hammer. The hammer is what causes the hours to strike. And then way up here, and you probably can't see it, there's a little bell. And there's a thing up there that makes that strike. There you go. And that would strike on the half hour. I don't want to stick my finger in there too much and mess around. You can really mess up these clock parts when you do stuff like that. It really takes a lot of precision and hand coordination. I've worked with older clocks, antique clocks in museums, and I know enough to not be sticking my finger in somewhere I don't know where I'm going. So anyway, that's the back, and so you first of all, you want to make sure your clock is balanced on a balanced surface. I'm just doing a demo here. This is not where it lives. And then you want to just get the clock to, you want to make sure your tick and tock is balanced and accurate and timed well. And there are people who know a lot more about that, so check out their channels on all these specifics of that. In setting the clock, you first want to make sure it's wound. There's 2 winding points, and they each wind into the clock. So this one winds this way. This one winds this way. It's pretty well wound. To get the chimes to be correct with your time, you use the minute hand. Don't ever touch the hour hand. Move it up to 12. Back down to 8. Up to 12. And keep doing this, but don't move the hand while it's still gonging. You have to wait. In fine-tuning your clock, it's hard to do it at 12 o'clock, but the short end or the narrow end of your key is going to be what is allowing you to kind of fine-tune the clock. A full turn, whether to the left or the right, is a matter of 2 minutes per 24 hours. And so it may take a couple cycles to get your clock exactly to where it needs to be. So moving forward, I'm not saying that I'm going to reproduce something like this. This is quite a clock. If I did another puzzle cabinet, this would be a puzzle cabinet size thing if I made something like this. I mean, there's a lot of details. This is a little more than I want to take on right now. But if it also has to do with space. I don't have a lot of space for these types of things anymore. So I'm trying to make smaller items take up less room. It's a beautiful clock. Definitely enjoy having it. And before I go, here's a little video of my cat responding to the first time she heard the clock go off.